Children are masters of what-if questions. What if the clouds really were dragons and they could come down and get us? What if the vegetables in the grocery store walked around when all the people left? What if all the socks that got lost in the laundry are taken by house elves for freedom? My daughter is only 7 years old, but she's asked some wild questions. Since she has a mom with an expansive belief system, sometimes the answers feel equally as wild as the questions. While I try to temper my responses to avoid raising a child who is completely out of touch with reality for various reasons, including safety and security, the question I most dread is whether a mythical, magical, or monstrous thing is real. Are monsters real, Mom? Are goblins real? And fairies? I am atheist, but I believe all things are real, whether or not humans sense or acknowledge them. That they exist on some plane separate from us, but which does not depend on the sensory experiences of cerebrally stunted humans who actively choose not to see that which they do not understand and thus cannot comprehend. This belief I hold, however wild may seem to you, is intuitively and wholly true for me. On the vernal equinox, my daughter and I leave a spoonful of sugar in the garden, just in case. Should we chance upon a fairy ring in the forest, we always leave it undisturbed, just in case. So when my daughter asks me whether a being like a fairy is real, I tell her that the answer is likely somewhere between yes and no. That what may be real in this dimension may not be real in another. That science, particularly quantum mechanics, leaves room for such possibilities. I tell her we don't need to see something with our eyes to know it is real. It is enough of a validation of realness to feel it in our hearts. I don't want the knowledge she gains early in life to become a prison that boxes her into a set of beliefs that don't feel intuitively authentic to her. I want her to grow, to learn, to develop, to explore, to create, to test, to decide for herself when she's ready. I want my daughter to explore the possibilities inherent in this short life. Sometimes I wonder if the adults in the room are truly the ones missing out on life's finer joys. Perhaps our cloud-watching children, our young, starry-eyed wanderers still exploring the depths of their creative centers, have it right. What if in the 1950s, thousands of women suddenly morphed into dragons, leaving their former lives in various states of destruction? Kelly Barnhill explored this question in When Women Were Dragons. What if when you die, you get to traverse all the alternate realities you could have lived if you'd made different life choices? The Midnight Library by Matt Haig explores this possibility. What if cryptids were part of normal life, but they were seen as mostly destructive and sometimes dangerous pests to be controlled? MetaStellar author Wendy Nykel works through what that could look like in her story, Night Raven, Highway 9. Today's video is about the world of possibility baked into what-if questions and the expansive potential of your story to reach your and your readers' creative centers. What-if questions can be exhausting for parents, but incredibly freeing for authors exploring their stories. What if my character didn't show up at that party? What if everyone on Earth had a doppelganger except one woman? What if the Mariana Trench was an underwater portal to the netherworld? What if the calculations were wrong and the asteroid landed much earlier than expected? What if questions allow you to see the various directions in which your story may go, probe the potential outcomes, and see the expansiveness of your own creativity? That same creative freedom extends to the reader's experience as they get to see what the what-if world looks like from your authorly perspective. The reader gets to travel into the known and unknown, witness parallel universes unfold in real time, satiate their deepest and most fantastic desires. At the same time, what-if questions open both author and reader up to new perspectives, thought-provoking alternatives, philosophical assumptions, and values-based tests, and push us to evolve as human beings capable of critical thought. With all the expansive potential baked into a what-if story, with all the possibility therein, curating those what-if questions in service of your story ultimately means helping your future self write well and helping your future reader suspend their disbelief. After all, exploring too many tangents at once can be confusing, even discombobulating for the reader who becomes lost in a possibility tangle. If your reader can no longer discern up from down or right from left, they may become frustrated by and eventually disenfranchised from the story experience. When exploring creative possibility using what if questions, I urge the authors with whom I work to structure their thinking using two key frames: sensical chronology and sensible places, clear direction or path to follow. First, the reader must know or be eventually able to determine when they are and where they are. Grounding readers in space-time and familiar places allows the reader to invest more fully in the fantastical threads of your story from a place of relative certainty. Stories like Le Guin's The Lathe of Heaven and Crow's Vanilla Sky allow readers to explore alternate realities while their feet are, at least somewhat, planted in the real and present. So play with chronology. Reverse your timeline. Dip into and out of any given month or year. But give readers signposts, even small ones, as you move through space-time so they can relax into your story comfortably and confidently strapped in for the ride. Second, the reader must also have a clear understanding of where they think the story is headed, how the disaster will unfold, what may happen to your people, how they may react. Putting readers on a specific story path, even if it winds and veers off at times, allows them to stay the course through the rougher and more outlandish parts of your story from a place of curiosity. Stories like Wallach's We All Looked Up and Weir's The Martian get readers focused on the potential calamity and corresponding character outcomes because the reader has a relatively clear map to follow to reach the story's destination. So go where your story must go. Head into those dark corners and alternate realities, go into the forbidden forest or the land of magical things. But give readers some direction, an arrow to follow, a headlamp to wear as they cross into the dark mist, so they don't lose their way. What if stories can lead to some really cool outcomes. So give yourself plenty of room to ask those questions and explore. But keep your exploration tightly focused, using time and place structure to avoid losing your readers. What's your favorite what if story? Happy writing! Did you know I work with indie authors at most stages of writing and revision? Fly into the novel nest. Check out the About the Editor section to see my services, portfolio, and some client reviews. Join the writers group and let's get started. Your story awaits. Have a story ready to submit for publishing consideration? MetaStellar's autumn fiction submission window is open. Check out our submission guidelines at metastellar.com and share your work. Your story could be someone's next favorite read. And of course, the best way to know whether your fiction is a fit is to read what we publish. The Best of MetaStellar Year 4 anthology is now available, or you may peruse our back catalog of published works. And here's a special thank you to our Patreon supporters who keep the MetaStellar airship in flight.